Hey guys, it's us. So good news for the residents of Grindavik. Finally, this is really good, guys. So there has been a decision by the government and they are finally telling the residents of Grindavik that the treasury of Iceland is buying them out. So they're buying their homes and they're taking over the mortgages. And what is really great is they're also then taking over dealing with the natural disaster insurance. That bill was approved at a cabinet meeting today and has already been published. It is estimated that this will cost the Icelandic government 61 billion Icelandic kronas. So in order to be able to finance and manage these operations, the state has decided that they will found a separate company, and then this company will deal with all of that. So what does that mean exactly? This company will manage the whole operation. So it is responsible for buying the properties and dealing with all the administrative stuff. And then it is assumed that this company will have a potential claim against the natural disaster insurance, and will then also be responsible for a potential demolition of the properties, but will also manage the properties and pay all cost and all administrative costs, basically everything that is happening during the time until they have a final payout from the natural disaster insurance and demolition costs. But what happens after that? Well, that's something that they will have to see, because then the treasury owns all these property. The treasury basically owns a whole town, a ghost town. So they once said, we will hold the town and then we will see if the residents can come back, if there will be any time in history when the residents will be able to come back, and then they will be able to buy their homes back. So, but they haven't set specifics to that yet, but at least it is a milestone. We've talked about it in my last video, that the residents really felt stuck in there, that they couldn't get out, that they wanted to buy other homes somewhere else in safer areas, but the offers that they made on other homes were subject to the government making a decision. And I think the eruption that we have seen 2 days ago was lighting fire underneath their butts, so to speak. So they had this cabinet meeting this morning and they finally made this decision, and it seems that they'll be able to finance it. So it's 61 billion Icelandic kronas. The residents have said it's going to be 101 billion Icelandic kronas. So that is something that concerns me. Where is that price difference coming from? So who and how did they assess the value of the properties? Because if the residents are of the opinion that it was 101 billion and now it's 61 billion, so that's going to be interesting whether the residents will be happy with their compensation. They have said yesterday, one resident of Grindavik, he was part of that committee, he said, well, it is a compromise, but he thinks it's a compromise that residents can be happy with. So what I think is definitely good, the government, this will happen quickly. They're taking over the mortgages, so residents don't have to deal with banks or pension funds anymore. They don't have to fight with them for mortgage deferrals or anything. So they're taking over the mortgages, they're buying them out. So the whole town basically will be owned by a company that is basically founded by the treasury, and that company, that entity is basically now the new management of the town of Grindavik. And it's also good that they have to deal with the disaster insurance, and I think they don't have the full picture there yet how much the insurance company is going to pay, because they said in the announcement then they're dealing with the natural disaster insurance and they're expecting a payout from the insurance. But I think the disaster insurance of Iceland is probably dealing right now with their reinsurance company to try to find out how much they're getting from them. And for that, they need to assess the properties in Grindavik. So they already have gone into the town multiple times and they have assessed quite a few homes. They have declared now 53 structures as uninhabitable and a total loss. 23 of them were businesses, but I think they still have to assess 120 houses or so. And what they also have to assess, that's why they're going in today, they have announced that they're letting residents of Grindavik back into the town today to get their valuables out. So they have to assess whether there is new damage to the town, whether there is new damage to more structures, and will that change the already existing assessment. Well, for the 53 structures that are a total loss, it can't get any worse, right? So I don't think that there are any issues, but maybe homes that were declared still okay, maybe there is some damage, but I don't think it's too bad, because that earthquake swarm that we saw before this eruption, it wasn't that bad. It was way less earthquakes than when we saw the last eruption on January 14th. That was really an earthquake cluster. But this time the magma had already quite a few tunnels where it could go. You see, it erupted at that spot where it erupted on December 18th, basically. So there were already existing tunnels that the magma had built when it erupted on December 18th. So whenever it needs to build sort of thing, new tunnels, when that worm needs to find new ways, we have more earthquakes and larger earthquakes. But this time it was easier, and that's why it went so undetected for such a long time. So basically they're saying now only 30 minutes warning. I think maybe even less, because I saw the earthquakes and then basically the eruption came right away. So I don't think there's too much damage in the town. During the eruption, even right after the eruption, when it got daylight, they have sent people, and I think even maybe in the night, but I think it was daylight, because the eruption started around 6 a.m. So they sent people into the town to assess the damage. So it seems it's not that bad. That's why they're letting the residents back in today, so that they can continue to get their valuables out. And we've talked in my video that I just released a few hours ago about the owners of the fish processing plants that want to get pallets of their frozen fish out, and it's so difficult for them. And one user was saying, why don't they use a boat to ship it out? And that's a valid point. If it's so difficult to get trucks in and at limited time has to be the same drivers, why not taking a boat? That's right. But I don't know the answer to that, why that's not possible. Maybe it's because they don't have a boat ready that has enough like freezer space or cooling space. I don't know, guys. So guys, I'd like to ask you something to help us a little bit to push that video out. Could you give it a like and subscribe if you haven't yet, of course. Watch it till the end and leave us a comment. We'd be grateful for that. Now I've got more visitors. They all want to sit on that one chair, of course. And so guys, thanks for that, and thanks for watching. I'll keep you updated. The eruption is slowing down, so there's not much happening. They're still hoping that they have heat back on the southern Reykjavik Peninsula by Sunday, so the homes are without heat, but they're repairing. They're really working nonstop to try to repair that, and I'll give you another update today. But I think I just wanted to shoot this out because this is a milestone for the residents of Grindavik, but it is kind of also the end of an era of the town of Grindavik, because once the people are moving out, once the businesses are moving away, they're not coming back. And the town without the business, without workplaces where people can work, it's going to be difficult. So it needs to be determined what's going to happen with the harbor. They haven't said anything about that. maybe they will keep that open, but that would mean that the fish processing plants are open. So that would mean they need workers to be in. So it is still difficult, and I think we will hear more in the coming weeks. The problem is that we will see more eruptions in the coming weeks and months. So it's very hard to make a final decision on that. So that's why probably it's good everyone's bought out and now they're in the waiting queue to see what's going to happen. But of course, I mean, they're moving their fish processing somewhere else right now. And once that is done, it's done. And then what's the use of the harbor if they transport fish in there and there's nobody there processing because they have moved their plants somewhere else? The workers have moved with them to other areas. So it's difficult. It's a good day for the residents, but it's a sad day for the town of Grindavik as a whole. But I think it's the right decision because I don't think there's any other solution to that, guys. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you so much for the supers that you're sending me and for the coffees you keep buying me on my site, buymeacoffee.com, because the coffee was so badly needed during eruption day. I didn't get much sleep. So thank you very much for that. And subscribe on that site so that you get all the updates per email from me. It's totally free. And I have a post section where you can see all the maps that I release. So it's an interesting site and I hope to see you very, very soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.